Most people think power comes from being understood, from explaining your side, from making things fair. That belief is exactly what makes them lose control. When you stop reacting, when you stop explaining, when you stop seeking fairness, something strange happens to the people around you. They don't calm down. They don't respect you more out loud. They don't suddenly become reasonable. They become uncomfortable. And that discomfort is the real signal. Because reactions are how people measure you. Explaining is how they locate your insecurities. Fairness is how they keep you engaged in games you never agreed to play. When you remove those behaviors, you remove their map. Let's start with reacting. Most people believe reacting shows strength, that it proves you care, that it shows confidence. In reality, reacting hands over timing, emotion, and control. The moment something happens and you immediately respond, you tell the other person three things. You are available, you are affected, and you can be moved. That's all anyone needs. When you stop reacting, they don't read it as calm at first. They read it as missing data. And missing data creates anxiety. They replay the interaction. They fill in the silence with assumptions. They start watching you more closely, because now they don't know where they stand. Silence forces projection. Reaction prevents it. Next is explaining. Explaining feels noble. It feels mature. It feels like clearing misunderstandings. But socially, explaining usually signals something else. It signals that you're trying to manage perception. And the moment you manage perception, you admit that perception matters more to you than outcome. When you explain yourself, you are saying, "Please understand me so I can feel safe." People sense that instantly, not consciously, not maliciously, but instinctively. That's why the more you explain, the less respected you feel. When you stop explaining, people don't suddenly understand you better. They start adjusting, because now they have to deal with your behavior, not your reasoning. No narrative, no defense, no justification, just actions. That's when people reveal themselves. Some become quieter, some become aggressive, some suddenly try to clarify their intentions. That reversal tells you everything. Now let's talk about fairness. This is the hardest one for most people to let go of. Fairness feels moral. Fairness feels principled. Fairness feels like the adult thing to demand. But in real social dynamics, fairness is often a trap, because the person who cares most about fairness is usually the one with less leverage. Think about it. The moment you say, "That's not fair," you're asking the other person to value balance more than advantage. That only works if they already respect you. If they don't, fairness becomes a bargaining chip they can ignore. When you stop seeking fairness, something uncomfortable happens. People realize you're no longer negotiating on emotional terms. You're not trying to win agreement. You're not trying to equalize effort. You're not trying to restore balance. You're observing, and observation is dangerous, because now the burden shifts. They wonder, why isn't he reacting? Why isn't she explaining? Why aren't they pushing back? And the mind hates unanswered questions. This is why people start acting strange around calm, unreactive individuals. They overtalk, they justify themselves, they test boundaries, they create drama to provoke a response. Not because you did something wrong, but because your restraint removes their feedback loop. Most people regulate themselves using other people's reactions. When those reactions disappear, they feel exposed. Here's the key insight most miss. You don't gain power by asserting it. You gain power by becoming unreadable. Unreadable doesn't mean cold. It doesn't mean passive. It doesn't mean weak. It means your internal state is no longer public property. And when your internal state isn't visible, people treat you differently. They speak more carefully. They reveal more than they intend. They stop pushing as hard because they can't predict the cost. This is why calm is often misread as arrogance. Why silence is misread as judgment. Why non-reaction is misread as superiority. It's not that you're doing anything to them, it's that they're doing something to themselves. Now, this doesn't mean never speaking. It doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means choosing when your energy enters the room. Most people leak it constantly. Every reaction, every explanation, every demand for fairness. Leak after leak. And then they wonder why they feel drained, overlooked, or manipulated. When you stop leaking, people notice the absence. And absence is powerful. Not loud power, not dramatic power. Quiet power. The kind that doesn't chase closure, doesn't chase validation, doesn't chase being right. It lets others show their hand first. If you take one thing from this, let it be this. You don't need to prove your strength. You don't need to explain your worth. You don't need to negotiate your dignity. The less you react, explain, and beg for fairness, the more clearly people reveal how they truly see you, and that information is worth more than winning any argument.